Learn English through story. The Lighthouse Keeper's Dilemma. In a remote coastal village surrounded by treacherous cliffs and rocky shores, there stood an old lighthouse. For centuries, it had guided ships safely through the perilous waters, its light a beacon of hope for sailors navigating the stormy seas. The lighthouse was manned by a solitary keeper named Thorn, a man as steadfast and unwavering as the structure he tended. Thorn had been the lighthouse keeper for as long as anyone in the village could remember. He was a quiet man, preferring the solitude of his post to the company of others. Though many saw him as a distant figure, those who knew him respected his dedication. The lighthouse was more than just a job to Thorn, it was his life's purpose. Every night, he climbed the spiral staircase to the top, lit the great lamp, and watched as its beam cut through the darkness, a sentinel for the ships at sea. One stormy night, as Thorn prepared the light for its nightly vigil, he noticed a small boat struggling against the relentless waves. The wind howled, and the rain lashed against the windows of the lighthouse. The sea was unforgiving, and Thorn knew that the boat would not survive if it couldn't find safe harbor. He quickly lit the lamp and watched as the beam swept across the horizon, hoping to guide the vessel to safety. As he peered through his spyglass, he saw something that made his blood run cold. The boat was heading directly toward the sharp rocks beneath the cliffs, rocks that had claimed countless lives over the years. The lighthouse's beam, designed to warn ships of the danger, was now inadvertently leading the small boat to its doom. Thorn's heart raced as he realized the gravity of the situation. If he kept the light on, the boat would surely crash into the rocks. But if he extinguished the light, he would be abandoning his duty and leaving the boat to navigate the stormy waters on its own. It was a decision that weighed heavily on him, one life for countless others who relied on the lighthouse's guidance. He raced down the stairs to the base of the lighthouse, his mind in turmoil. The storm outside was growing fiercer by the minute, and the waves crashed violently against the rocks. Thorn knew he had only moments to make his decision. Just as he reached the bottom, the door burst open, and a young woman staggered in, soaked to the bone. Her face was pale, her eyes wide with fear. "Please," she gasped, "my brother is out there on that boat. You have to help him." Thorn's heart sank. The boat wasn't just any vessel, it was carrying someone this woman loved. The stakes were higher than he had imagined. The light was still on, guiding the boat toward certain disaster. He had to act quickly. But Thorn hesitated. If he extinguished the light to save the woman's brother, he would be violating his oath as a lighthouse keeper, putting every other ship in the area at risk. The thought of endangering so many lives was unbearable to him, yet the thought of doing nothing was equally torturous. With a heavy heart, Thorn made his decision. He led the young woman back to the top of the lighthouse, where he showed her the situation. "I cannot extinguish the light," he said, his voice trembling with the weight of his words. "It is my duty to keep it burning, no matter what. But I will do everything in my power to guide your brother to safety." The young woman looked at him with tear-filled eyes, understanding the difficult choice he faced. She nodded, trusting him to do what was right. Thorn quickly adjusted the lens of the lighthouse, narrowing the beam so that it no longer illuminated the deadly rocks. He then lit a smaller lantern and took it outside, waving it frantically to catch the attention of the boat's crew. He hoped that the flickering light would warn them of the danger ahead. Through the howling wind and pouring rain, Thorn's desperate efforts finally paid off. He saw the boat change course, steering away from the rocks and toward the safety of a small cove sheltered from the worst of the storm. Thorn and the young woman watched with bated breath as the boat navigated the rough waters and finally reached the shore. When the boat's crew disembarked, The young woman ran to her brother and embraced him, tears of relief streaming down her face. Thorn felt a wave of relief wash over him, knowing that he had done everything he could to save the lives on that boat without abandoning his duty to others. But as he returned to the lighthouse, a deep sense of unease settled over him. He had narrowly avoided disaster this time, but what if a similar situation arose in the future? The responsibility of deciding who lived and who died was a burden too great for any one person to bear. The storm passed, and life in the village returned to normal, but Thorn could not shake the feeling of dread that lingered within him. He spent hours contemplating his role as a lighthouse keeper and the moral implications of his actions. He had sworn an oath to protect all who sailed near his shores, but he had nearly broken that oath in the name of compassion. Days turned into weeks, and Thorn's internal struggle deepened. The villagers noticed the change in him. He became even more reclusive, avoiding social gatherings and spending all his time at the lighthouse. His once steady hands now trembled as he tended the light, and the weight of his responsibility began to wear him down. One evening, as the sun set over the horizon, Thorn received a visitor at the lighthouse. It was the young woman whose brother he had saved. She brought with her a basket of food and a small bouquet of wildflowers. "I wanted to thank you again," she said, her voice soft and sincere. "You saved my brother's life that night. I don't know what I would have done if you hadn't acted." Thorn accepted the gift with a nod, but his expression remained troubled. "I did what I could," he said, his voice heavy with sorrow. "But I almost failed in my duty. The light must remain on, no matter the circumstances. I cannot allow personal feelings to cloud my judgment." The young woman looked at him with empathy, sensing the turmoil within him. "Thorn," she said gently, "what you did was not a failure. You found a way to save lives while staying true to your duty. You showed that compassion and responsibility can coexist." Thorn looked at her, the weight of his guilt still pressing down on him. "But what if I hadn't been able to save your brother? What if I had to choose between his life and the lives of others? How can one person bear that responsibility?" The young woman reached out and placed a hand on Thorn's arm. "You don't have to bear it alone," she said. "No one can make those decisions by themselves. It's too much for any one person. But you can seek guidance from others, from those who care about you and understand the burden you carry. You don't have to be alone in this." Thorn felt a warmth spread through him at her words. For so long, he had shouldered the responsibility of the lighthouse alone, believing it was his burden to bear. But the young woman was right. He didn't have to do it alone. The next day, Thorn visited the village council. He shared his concerns and the dilemma he had faced on that stormy night. To his surprise, the council members listened with understanding and compassion. They assured him that he had their support and that he should never hesitate to seek their counsel in difficult times. In the weeks that followed, Thorn found a renewed sense of purpose. He continued to keep the light burning in the lighthouse, but he no longer did so in isolation. He formed a small group of volunteers who helped him with the lighthouse duties and provided support in times of need. They worked together to ensure the safety of all who sailed near their shores, knowing that the responsibility was shared among them. Thorn no longer felt the crushing weight of his duty, for he had learned that even the strongest beacon needs the support of others to shine its brightest. The villagers of the coastal town came to see the lighthouse not just as a guiding light for ships, but as a symbol of community and collective responsibility. And so, the lighthouse continued to stand, a beacon of hope and safety, not just because of the light it emitted, but because of the people who tended it together. Thorn, once a solitary figure, had found solace in the strength of others, and in doing so, had ensured that the light would never go out, even in the darkest of storms. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you enjoyed, then please like and share this video, and don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel. Thank you for watching.